Hey guys, Golden Majestic here, bringing you another battle report. This is the Infernal Dwarves versus Sylvan Elves. On my far left, we have 10 Citadel Guard with the Flintlock Axe and Musician, followed by the same. And then the Volcano Cannon with the Bound Demon upgrade. Next to him is Condemned Titan. Next we have the Prophet, Wizard Master with 3 learned spells in the Path of Alchemy. He's armed with a hardened shield and riding the Lamassu, which has the Path of Witchcraft. Next up is a block of Infernal Warriors, 38 with full command and the Flame Standard. And the Overlord is in that unit with the Onyx Hammer and the Ring of Desiccation and Dragon Mantle. Also is the Vizier with the War Standard and Infernal Weapon. Next up is 4 Atoric Anointed, having a Champ and a Musician. No Musician. A Standard Bearer with the Banner of Speed. And then another unit of 10 Citadel Guard with Flintlock Axes and a Musician. And on my opponent's far left, you can't see it, but there is a Warhawk right behind the building. And then he has a unit of 10 Sylvan Archers with a Chieftain in there with a Hailshot Arrow. He has 24, I believe it's 24 Dryads with Matriarch, and 30 Forest Guard with his Forest Prince and Mage in it. In front of that unit is 10 Pathfinders, and then 6 Thicket Beasts with the Thicket Champion. And then another 10 Pathfinders, another Warhawk, and then a unit of 10 Sentinels. We're playing straight up deployment, standard objectives. We're just going to run up and punch each other in the face. Alright, let's get started with the spells. The Prophet rolled up Word of Iron, Molten Copper, Transmutation of Lead, and Silver Spike. Some pretty good damage spells. Hindsight, I would have switched out Transmutation of Lead for Quicksilver Lash. He didn't really have any too good weapons giving him strength bonuses. -1 to hit on the Elves. That's not really going to do a whole lot. A lot of them are hitting on 2s and 3s anyway. So, yeah, next time I'll just keep that in mind. The Lamassu rolled up Deceptive Glamour. And last battle report, I was kind of knocking the Path of Witchcraft. Guess I didn't really look into it too much. Upon further review, most of the spells are pretty good. The only thing that there's a downside to it is that there's no signature, so you're kind of stuck with what you roll with. So, I mean, that's alright. That's cool. My opponent's Wizard Master has the Path of Shamanism. He rolled up Awaken the Beast, Savage Fury, Break the Spirit, and Totemic Summon. And I think Shamanism is a solid choice for Sylvan Elves. It really gives them the buffs that they can need in combat. Awaken the Beast is good. It can be +1 strength or toughness. And, Elves need all the toughness they can get. And Savage Fury is good for giving them the extra attacks. They're going to have the higher initiative. -1 to hit them with Break the Spirit's good for defense too. And Totemic Summon's good too. It's an MSU army. And Totemic Summon just gives you another small unit to fight along with. And my opponent finished dropping the rest of his army while I had 3 drops left, so giving him +3 to the roll, and he goes first. In his movement phase, the Warhawk swoops around the buildings for everyone to see him, and he will get a face full of gunfire. The Dryads and the Thicket Beasts advance fearlessly. The Sylvan Archers to the left stay put, Pathfinders shuffle up a little bit, and Sylvan Archers to the right advance to the marsh. On his right flank, the Pathfinders and the Sentinels stay put, and Warhawk swoops around, about to take on those Citadel Guards. Here is turn 1 magic phase. He's able to get off Awaken the Beast, giving them +1 toughness. And sorry about the lighting here. In the shooting phase, the 10 Sentinels put off no wounds on the Citadel Guard. And my friend Nick on the right said, you know what shooting phase would be complete without a photobomb? Pathfinders fire shots off at the Prophet, doing 0 wounds. The Sylvan Archers attempt their shots at the Bound Demon, but do nothing. It's the chieftain who steps up with his hail-shot arrow and says, "This is how it's done, boys," and pulls off a wound. The Pathfinders fire off their shots at Torque Anointed and pull off a wound. Now for turn 1, Infernal Dwarves, and starts things off right with the Bound Demon passing his Demonic Fury test. I tell you, this always makes me happy when he passes, because that random movement gets in the way more than it helps. And with no one in charge range yet, the Kadim just moves, does not march, into the woods, getting ready for combat and just gonna burn up those Dryads. The Bound Demon, he's already in range for him, so he's gonna sit put right where he is. And the 2 Citadel Guards are going Warhawk hunting. And the Toruk Anointed and the Infernal Warriors move up like so, forcing those Thicket Beasts to get a flank charge whenever, because either Toruk or Infernal Guard, they're going to hold up for one round of combat, and either one of the units is going to be slamming into their flanks. And Prophet moves in behind the Infernal Warriors. And lucky for the Citadel Guard, the Warhawk's already in range, so we're just going to sit put, and we'll just have the long-range negative hit. Let's roll up some magic dice. I cast the Molten Copper on these guys, and even though they already have the +1 toughness from Awaken the Beast, wounding on 6s is still the same, and I'm able to take off a whole model. Lamsu then proceeds to cast Deceptive Glamour on them, just trying to make them ineffective as possible in combat. Because, you know, the Infernal Warriors will hold them if they charge into them, but Torque Anointed, they will last for a round of combat. I just want them to be able to last that much longer. In Shooting Phase, Citadel Guard only able to take off 1 wound on the Warhawk. So he'll be able to do another turn of shenanigans, either messing around on my flank, or possibly getting a rear charge over in the middle of the board's combats. Now these other guys on the left flank, they've got the right idea. They know it takes 2 expensive units to take down cheap chaff. Way to go, guys. And in the middle of the board, Bound Demon shoots at the Dryads, getting D3 hits per rank, re-rolling to wounds, and it takes about 4 or 5 guys out. Kadim says, "Don't worry, guys, I got this." And turn 2, Sylvan Elves, he takes the bait and charges in his Thicket Beasts into the Toruk Anointed, and they say happily, "Come on down." And we all seen this one coming. The Warhawk charges into the rear of the Toruk. And these Dryads they got something to prove. They want to show everybody they are just not walking Kindle. And they want to charge into the Condemned Titan. And these 2 units succeed on their charge rolls. But not the Dryads, they failed their charge. Perhaps they just weren't that enthusiastic by the orders given to them. In his remaining moves, the Sentinels back up to get away from those flintlock axes. In the middle of his board, most of his archers stay stationary. They're going to try to set some shots off on the Condemned Titan and possibly the Prophet and just try to stop him before he gets into combat. And the Sylvan archers and the Chieftain get set up to do the same. Sylvan Elves magic phase. He's not able to get any spells off. In his defense, he was rolling really poorly tonight. Wasn't anything, to his game specifically, just dice rolls. The 2 cards you see there is still the Deceptive Glamour and the Evil Eye attribute. And in the first combat of the game, nothing too exciting. He ends up doing 3 wounds to me, he does 4 wounds, taking off a Torok and then putting another wound on the unit. I take off another Thicket Beast, and I don't waste any attacks on the Warhawk. I put them all on the Thicket Beasts. He wins combat by a charge, rear, and a wound, and I stick on the general's leadership with the reroll. Now, this combat could have gone south. I think I still had a little bit of advantage, but anything could happen, and I'm really glad those Torque Anointed stuck it right there, because I am just in such a good position for my next turn. And the Infernal Dwarves go exactly where I want them. I'm going to have the Overlord make way, putting off his multi-wounds into him, and those Thicket Beasts will be toast. But what is that over there in the upper left corner? Holy mother of barbecue. The Condemned Titan charges in, takes no dangerous terrain from the forests, and will dispatch those dryads. In the remaining moves, Citadel Guard advance forward to get close to those Sylvan archers, and the Bound Demon stays put, and he had passed his leadership test, so all is well. Prophet on the Lamasu moves in to do some augmenting hexes. The Citadel Guard move up their full 9 inches to harass the Sentinels, because after all, they only have so much table to back up on. Infernal Dwarf magic. The +2 armor save version of Word of Iron goes off on the Torok Anointed, and that's just the Alchemical Fire attribute card on the Warhawk, just for formalities. I've already lost one Torok. I don't want that unit to get too decimated. I want them to be able to get another good combat in. And when I mean good combat, I mean kill a couple of wimpy elves. In the shooting phase, the Mighty Bound Demon lights 3 elves on fire, and even with the -1 leadership test for panics, they still don't run because, let's face it, they're elves. And over here, Condemned Titan pulls off 7 wounds and deals none back to him, because those guys are hitting on 4s and wounding on 6s, and even the wounds that do get through, I'm passing the ward saves, luckily. Yeah, between all of his flaming attacks, Volcanic Embrace, and Thunderstomp, I'm going to taking out some guys. It's going to be a bit of a grind, but it won't be long before I strip that Steadfast and they'll be fleeing. But they stick around for now. And over in combat here, I think I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I was getting a little cocky, and he kind of called me on it. He issued a challenge with his Thicket Beast champion, or it's like a Thicket character, and so I accepted with the general. And like me, I always forget what I kit my characters out with, and I forget to drink his potion of swiftness. And the guy's swinging before me, and he's got strength 6. He's stripping down a lot of my armor, and he takes 2 wounds off of my overlord. So I was really close to losing my general. And that's the thing, you think you got the game, don't always get too ahead of yourself, because anything could happen. I decided to allocate the rest of the Torok's attacks onto the bird. I just want to get it out of there, get it gone, get that rear gone, and just have the rest of the Infernal Dwarves and the Vizier go onto the unit. End up killing the bird and taking out another one of the Thicket Beast's models. He ended up passing his ward saves a little bit better this round. And he ended up taking out a whole Torok model. So, now those Torok Anointed are becoming Torok Annoyed. And so the combat pushes on. Now starts turn 4 for Sylvan Elves, and he decides he wants a flank charge too. And so he directs the Forest Guard into the flank of the Infernal Dwarves. It's a long charge. He needs probably at least a 9 to get in, and he fails and shuffles forward a couple of inches. In his remaining moves, the Chieftain detaches from the Sylvan Archers and leaves them boys for dead. The Pathfinders move to get a cleaner shot in view of the Prophet, and Sentinels keep on backing up. And since those Forest Guards failed the charge and a little bit stranded, he moves the Pathfinders in to chaff up and block any combat units going in their way. And here's his magic phase. And he gets off Totemic Summon and places him just where he needs to be. He knows how to exploit that Demonic Fury rule. I swear, this all feels a little bit too familiar. And he gets off a little bit better luck this magic phase. He's able to get a lot more spells through. He gets Awaken the Beast and gives them +1 strength, so they'll be wounding the Condemned Titan on 5s. And they get Savage Fury too, so this could definitely put him at a better advantage at pulling off some wounds on the old Titan. In the shooting phase, the Sylvan Archers pull off a wound on Citadel Guard, and his Pathfinders fire through the woods into the Bound Demon and are unsuccessful in their attempts. I mean, really, I really lucked out during this game. His dice rolls just weren't there. He was playing the army just how he needed it to, but his shooting wasn't there, and we all know Sylvan Elves, if their shooting is on point, they can be really tough to pick apart. They can put off a lot of wounds at a long range, and luckily for me, it just wasn't the case this night, and I was able to move up my units with abandon. And Pathfinders pull off their shots on the Citadel Guard and again do no wounds. And that's just another one of the things I love about this unit. They got tough armor save, they got 3+ against shooting and 4+ in combat. And with the toughness 4, it makes them pretty tough to deal with. And shooting over here, and they cannot find the path to wounding the Prophet on the Wamasu. And in the combat, he's able to get off 2 wounds with his savage attacks and extra strength. I do 6 wounds back to him. He's still steadfast, and onwards we go. And let's get this combat over with. Overlord does not forget to drink his potion of swiftness now. He has Crotein, so he fights with the power of the crow. And then we clean up the rest of the unit with the Infernal Warriors and the Torok. They get through those ward saves. And the Thicket Beast auto breaks. So I test to hold the Infernal Warriors so that they can reform and get ready for next combat, and send off the Torok to go chase him down, which they stop 1 inch in front of the Pathfinders. And I'm super stoked this happened on this turn, because those Pathfinders are not quick to fire. He will not stand and shoot against my charge, and then I can get a good charge into his Forest Guard or his Pathfinders. And in the next turn, they declare their charge. So over here, what happened is the Infernal Warriors declared a charge against the Pathfinders. They fled through the Sylvan Archers. They passed their panic test, and then we tested to redirect against the Forest Guard. And they failed that charge. It was long. I needed a 9 or 10, just couldn't make it. Over here, the Prophet swoops down to take care of the Totemic Summon. I tell you, these guys are just annoying. I like using them in my Beastman list, but when you're on the receiving end, these guys are just a pain in the butt, and you got to take them out as soon as possible. Which then, stops you from focusing on other areas of the battlefield where, you can actually score points. Not with this guy. And for the remaining moves, the Citadel Guard, Bound Demon, and then the Citadel Guard all the way on the right flank all stay put, getting ready for their shots. Magic Phase is a complete bust. He stops every single damage spell I can try to get off on that summon, which is annoying now because he can just have free reign over the back part of my field. And now here for a more meaningful phase, the Citadel Guard light up the rest of the Sylvan Archers, and they go ahead and flee, and it's rude because now I'm not even going to try to shoot with the Bound Demon. They're going to be rallying on their half leadership, and it's not even worth the chance that the Bound Demon would misfire. And away they go like the elves they are. Too bad these guys over here can't follow suit. Between skirmish and long range, they're unable to put through any wounds. And the grind fest over here is finally coming into an end. He was able to pull off 2 wounds on the Condemned Titan, and I put off enough wounds to break his steadfast, and he is now on auto break. And as we all know, here's the worst part about Frenzy. Automatically overrunning. So yes, pursuing. So yes, he does capture him, gets all the points, but now I can't put him in the combat with the Forest Guard. Oh well. At least he passed his dangerous terrain for the forest. And it's a pretty sad day when 2 Torok Anointed cannot wipe out 4 Elf Pathfinders. They end up doing 1 wound and win by charge, wound, flag. And to make it worse, cannot even catch him in the pursuit, not even with Swift Stride. Good going, guys. Way to show those elves who's the elite race. And now turn 5, both of his Pathfinders rally. Which, makes sense to them, because it's not like anything's out there to hurt them. Goddamn Torok. More like the burden of Asheruk. And the Sylvan Archers continue their flee. And if I was running from danger, that Titan would be the last thing I would be running towards, or near, or anywhere by. Not speaking in the sense of the game, just in a real general sense. But then again, I'm not going to try to get inside the mind of an elf. And here's that pain in the butt Totemic Summon making its way into the flank of the Citadel Guard. Just keep on backing up, backing up. Sylvan Archers move up closer. And then his magic phase, this is what he gets off, but he's not able to complete any of his spells. It was just one of those nights for him where all the dice rolls were just not going his way. But I give it to him. He was able to be a good sport about it, and I find that very commendable. You know, we decided to play a game that has random outcomes in it with the dice rolls, and you know, we need to be okay when the game just doesn't go our way because of it. You know, do we make the right moves? Did we make the right decisions? Was our tactics right? Those are the things that we should be judging ourselves on, not dice rolls. Besides, who could feel bad after a shooting phase like this? Yeah, he puts off a lot of wounds through, and honestly, this is what he should have been doing all game long. It's not enough to make them panic. They still stick around. They're still at a very full capability, but still, if I was him, I'd take that as a win for sure. You know, it's the tiny victories like these we need to hold on to. And what's this? Could it be more dead dwarves? Could the tides be changing? And Chieftain on the left pulls back the hailshot arrow and pulls off another wound on the Kadim. He's got one wound left, and I'm sweating right here. I'll admit it. Yeah, especially with those Sylvan archers in front of him. Next turn, if I have to charge him and take dangerous terrain from the forest, he is dead. And all those points scored from the Dryads and the Matriarch will be wasted. And over in combat, the Totemic Summon pulls off a wound. I do a wound back to him. So he wins by charge and a flank. But we stick around on our steadfast leadership. But are unable to perform the test to reform because of the -2 to leadership. And then now my turn 5 begins, and I want that unit. It's got his general and his wizard master in there, and these infernal dwarves are out for blood. The Torok declare their charge. Again, no stand and shoot for him. And fortunately, they make it in this time. The Kadim behaves, does not chase, and he's just going to sit there in the woods. And over here you can see the Torok made their charge, and big surprise there. And Citadel Guard move up there 9 inches again just to keep taunting those sentinels. Good old Mr. Bound Demon fails his demonic fury test, so no shooting for him, no nothing for him. He will just sit put. Citadel Guard move up just a little bit so we can put that chieftain into their sights. And the Prophet swoops in behind the Infernal Warriors. Infernal Dwarves magic phase. I'm able to get Word of Iron off on the Infernal Warriors, and that's what I like about that spell so much. You know, with their great weapons, giving them that +2 armor for a 3+ total really helps them survive that first swing of combat against them, and helps them put not all, but most of their attacks through. And I throw the attribute on the Chieftain because I thought I was going to shoot him with the Bound Demon, but I forgot he failed the test. The Citadel Guard failed to pull off any wounds on the Chief. And over in combat, the Torok wipe out the Pathfinders. But still, they take out another Torok. How is this possible? How are these elves putting through the wounds to these Torok? What is going on here? What sucks too is I lost the standard bearer, so no more banner of speed for them. So with an inflated sense of self-esteem, the champion reforms and faces the Sylvan archers. Combat number 2, Mr. Totemic flubs all of his hit rolls. And we pull off another wound. He's got one flank to my one wound, and it's a push. So we reform on our base leadership and get ready to put through a lot of attacks on his turn. Bye-bye, summon. Combat number 3, and the one I've been waiting all game for. You know, I love how in 9th edition we don't have the character wall anymore. Gone. I love being able to attack the units whenever I can, even if the character is in base contact right there. If I'm in a situation where I know I can break his ranks and I can put the wounds through, I put all the attacks through the unit. Because he'll be breaking, and you know all that armor and war saves that they buy for the characters, it doesn't work when you're pursued and overran. So on to combat results. Well, you can see there's just a pile of gray back there, and that's just full of Forest Guard. And I only have 6 wounds pulled off on me thanks to Word of Iron. So it's safe to say he auto breaks. Naturally, they get overran, and we make contact into the Pathfinders. Pathfinders didn't panic, by the way, from the Forest Guard. They said, nah, we got this, guys. The Forest Guard, they whittled down the Dwarves forest. We're good. Here's the final go-around for the Sylvan Elves. Their Sylvan Archers reform to face the Condemned Titan. They need just one wound to pull off and kill him. Will they do it? Will they succeed? Or will they just die like elves? Sentinels move over yonder. With no more magic phase, we go to shooting, and the chieftain still cannot get off the last wound on the Titan. If you look real closely at his pile of dice right there, you can just see the natural accumulation of 1s and 2s, and that's just been the story for him all night. And combat goes pretty much as expected. I take a wound, and it looks like those guys found their path. So we reform for last turn cleanup. And finally, we've won the combat, which we get no points for. I put the last wound through to him, but he decides to take 3 of my guys out with me. But he is gone once and for all. We gladly take the reform. The last turn for Infernal Dwarves. So let's just make some charges and clean up all the remaining points left on the board. We make it in. We suffer 1 dwarf through the marsh, but all in all, it's been a great day to be a dwarf. Mr. Bound Demon fails his demonic fury, so the Citadel Guard move up and go in for the kill. A powerful magic phase to end the game with. The Silver Spike goes through and just does 1 wound to him. Over here, Citadel Guard can only put 2 wounds off on the Sentinels, but I'm in no position to complain. We've had a pretty victorious game here. The 2 units of Citadel Guard take out the final chieftain. And in this slaughterfest, all the Sylvan Archers are wiped out, and the Chieftain auto-breaks. Chieftain flees, and the Torok will give chase. And he catches him and turns him into elven pulp. And here's a shot of the table. The game's finished. Good game. Opponent had just some bad dice rolls. He was a good sport about it. There's 3 Sentinels left for his side. And he scored half the points from the Torok unit, and then the wounds to the Condemned Titan, and that is it. I did not lose any whole units, so again, good day for the Dwarves. So that wraps up the second episode of Golden Majestic Battle Reports. Thanks everybody for watching, and if you can, like and subscribe, and any comments, suggestions are always noted. Alright guys, thanks a lot.